Hi, my name is Esteban Barboza, and I'm doing my digital presentation on my Pisces Game Experience. Pisces Game took into consideration the following ethics: the inter versus intra-generational equity, and that is, should we favor the needs of the present or this generation over the needs of the future generations, or should we find a balance to allow both to succeed? And the second point was whether to partake in weak or strong sustainability, and both would be in lieu of the future generations. Do we want to leave a strong sustainable situation for future generations in which the ecosystem services are okay, or do we want to leave them a lot of technological capital? And again, there's also the possibility of a balance. In the case of the Pisces game, the ecosystem services would be to keep the public pond intact and thriving, where a technological capital would be, I hoarded all of this fish in my own pond, guaranteeing just my future generations, not all of the future generations. And all of that will be made clear in the next few slides. So the basis was everyone is separated into different teams or villages, if you enlighten me in this Pisces game. And everyone was separated according to their astrological signs, which are shown here, and which you can look up if you don't actually know which one you are. As for the rules, everyone starts out with a boat and access to the public pond, which has the fish. You also have stringers, which are fish that you have on the line but are not considered dead, and you have the possibility of creating your own pond, your own private pond, that you can start to store your own fish. And taking into consideration how many people are in your group, each person must eat 4 fish each. The boat only has a certain size, which you must consider, and you can build on your pond or your boat consequentially. If all your teammates aren't fed, then it leads to death, and ultimately there's a lot of death in this game. Well, as for my pre-game thoughts, I initially thought, it's my team first. Whatever happens to the other teams is not my concern, and I'm going to be looking out for my success. And I thought about the inter-team obligations. Do I owe anything to my fellow students? Do I need to help them at all? And I couldn't bring myself to think, yeah. And I also thought in the worst case scenario mindset. I knew that there were going to be situations where other teams could try and undermine the welfare of mine, and so I sought to prevent that. My mid-game thoughts were, again, there were 2 categories, one of which was, again, focused on my well-being, and that was my team first, and making sure everyone was fed and alive. After that, I had to consider who were we indebted to, who had given us fish, donated their fish to help us stay alive and survive the first round, and how are we going to pay them back? And then I thought about the future generation obligations and how that seemed very far off at the time. Like, do I need to consider them now? Or while there's so many fish in the public pond? And it was only until the last few rounds that I thought, okay, we need to do something. If we are to pass on this very same world, air quotes, to another class, would they be able to survive? And as for others, I noticed in them at first the chaos that was beginning to take form due to revenge on other groups, and then it went beyond that and showed that they were taking part not only for the sake of revenge, but simply to undermine any trust that might have been initially established between groups. And you couldn't determine who was hacking who, and you saw people degenerate into something beyond, something below the typical human civilization. And after the game, all I could think about was my lack of action, and whether that meant anything, whether that spoke something about me, because I don't think it was the first time that I'd been like that. Maybe there was some kind of cowardice that stops me from speaking when it's such a strong topic. I realized we should have been more trusting, that there was very little likelihood of us failing, so we should have from the start formed alliances with everyone, tried to get everyone to succeed as much as we could, even understanding that there would be some deaths. And failure versus success, I'm glad that the Pisces game failed in our class. Maybe even if it was more of a failure than perhaps past classes have done. And it was present in the whole failure idea, that failure versus success, golden balls, that you learn more from failure, you value it more than success. So that took on a whole new meaning for me, that if we had succeeded, it would have been just another assignment that we had done and pushed out of our minds. But the fact that we failed so miserably at first, perhaps overall, allowed us to really take into consideration everything we did. And I was really reminded of Lord of the Flies, where at the end all the children are fighting to kill the last child who opposed their group mind, the hive mind, I suppose. And they're woken up again when they see the adults, or in our case, when we went to class again after the weekend of the Pisces game, and everyone kind of realized, oh, these are humans, not some faceless villages that you could hide behind. And again, you saw it. I don't want to actually single him out, but Jake became the face for this, in which everyone directed their animosity, and perhaps he realized that while he was being competitive and thinking of his group, himself, perhaps he did not take kindly to the bad lighting and wanted to have another chance at the game, but the point of the game had already been made. So my closing thoughts are, it is more than just a stated ethics of thinking about future generations, and are you going to think about, let me go back, whether you think about the present or the past, that there was more going on beyond those basic ethics, which were, I suppose, the lesson in this assignment. There was the social aspect as well, and I think that impacted a lot stronger for me. Thank you.